What's this? $10,000. Whoa. If you can beat my rock, paper, scissors robot. I could probably beat it.
This is a friendly
I could probably beat this robot.
robot that's impossible to beat a rock, paper, scissors. This is an infinite slinky staircase that can run for days. And this is basically a room temperature ice rink. Today, we're not only going to count down 10 of the coolest things we built at Crunch Labs.
Oh, this is like a top 10 video. Chat, this is the top 10 craziest inventions of 2024. Let's see them.
Past year, but we're going to also break down the science of how they work and even show how you can easily recreate a few of them yourself. Starting off at number 10, when you need to let everyone know it's lunchtime, typically you'll have something like this. But that's boring.
What? Did he say if it's lunchtime, typically you will have something like this?
Everyone know it's lunchtime. Easily recreate a few of them yourself. Starting off at number 10, when you need to let everyone know it's lunchtime, typically you'll have something like this.
This guy in chat says at school. Wait, do y'all have this at school? What year are y'all living in? Are you serious? You don't have this. Bro, if you want it... Okay, he's trolling. I don't need to explain this. He's trolling.
But that's boring. So we replaced it with this. Acquire.
He's
a
trolling.
22
He's trolling.
screaming
He's
chicken
trolling.
heads. It's long been established that if you ever see these in a bin at a store, after you apply a little pressure, it will yield amazing results. Beautiful. Now to find out why.
Oh, chat, I should do this. I never have cooked any. Well, that's not true. Okay, the one time a month I cook something, I should get a bunch of rubber chickens to let the people in my house know that food is ready. Yes, that's what I should do. Instead of just saying, "Hey, food's ready," I should get a bunch of rubber chickens and stomp on them.
Look inside. And when you do, you'll find this. It's basically just a kazoo or one of those party blowers. So after squeezing the chicken, it expands back to its original shape, which pulls air over this diaphragm, causing it to vibrate and make that terrible, terrible noise. So then if you just hook up all 22 to an airline pressurized at 100 PSI, then you turn this valve, everyone knows.
It's lunchly time. Lunchly time!
Coming in at number 9, if you happen to discover a platinum ticket in your Crunch Labs box, securing you a free trip out to Crunch Labs, well then it's very likely our own Science Bob will show off his fancy deflagration.
Is that an ad?
Basically, you load in some gas and
Whoa, is this guy like Mr. Beast, chat? I've actually never watched this guy's videos before. I've seen like clips of them. Wait, is this guy like Mr. Beast? That was an ad. 1 minute and 30 seconds in. Really? Oh shit. Okay. We have to chat. We have to do the guessing game. If this guy's like Mr. Beast, there's gonna be 3 ads in here.
Creates a slow-moving wave of fire that spreads because of heat. And
that's my bet.
A deflagration wave. Then once it's almost done tracing all through the tubes, it approaches the end here, where the gas and flame mix with the oxygen, making a small explosion. And since the bottle is in the way of the quickly expanding gas, it goes along for the ride. Bullseye. Now that's only the first 2 of our countdown to number 1, but number 8 is where things really start to get interesting. Because if you take 3.5 million airsoft PBs, just swallows you, and then knock them over,
then you can skate on them.
You basically make a room temperature ice rink. This was honestly the most slippery surface I've ever stood on. Isn't it, Shrimp?
This is crazy.
As you can see here, it's almost completely frictionless, even more slippery than ice, which means it should be perfect for skating.
Chat, isn't it crazy? Honestly, isn't it crazy how people will get like an award from YouTube for like their dedication to their channel, and then they'll just like throw that shit around like they don't care about it? That's so wild.
Which means it should be perfect for skating. We had a lot of fun surfing, skating, and even bowling. It was ultimately incredibly difficult.
Someone in chat says, "Why would you do this? You would have to clean it up after. Just wait for winter." This is content, bro. This is content. How lame would it be if he was like, "Okay, guys, today we're gonna go to an ice rink"? No, that is so boring. How about instead we get a bunch of balls, throw them all over the ground, and then we can skate on them. That's way better.
To keep our footing.
Like no way to stop.
So we decided to call in a pro. This is Anna. And she's a 10-year-old skateboard competition winning legend.
Holy.
Are you doing a shove?
I was doing a kickflip, obviously.
Oh.
And she absolutely dominated the BB floor.
Hey!
But could she pull off the impossible jump?
Ow. I think I broke all my bones.
And what makes Anna
Oh,
so
well, hopefully
great
not. Jesus.
Oopsie.
is that she's incredibly tenacious.
Can I still land it or no?
And she never gives up. So before she takes her final shot at nailing this trick, we need to discuss the science behind this room temperature ice rink. Because intuitively, it should make sense why this blue ocean is so frictionless. Because any given BB rolls smoothly on the ground, and your foot rolls smoothly on top of the BB. So when you have hundreds of these underneath you, it's like you have hundreds of perfect wheels to slide you in any direction. And what's really cool is if you take the floor and replace it with metal, and then take your foot and also replace it with metal, then you just connect the top surface to itself like this, and the bottom surface to itself like this. Well, now they'll still slide relative to each other, just as good as my foot does with the floor. And this is exactly how ball bearings work. And besides being just in your fidget spinner, ball bearings are everywhere. They're in your bike, skateboard, and rollerblade wheels, where the wheels connect with the axles.
Fidget spinner!
Find them in aircraft engines, washing machines, and a bunch of other tools. Pretty much anything you see that rotates, where smooth, low friction is required, will have ball bearings that work just like this floor. Another really cool thing we discovered is that when you interact with all the BBs, they almost behave like water would, even though they're totally dry. And this actually makes sense, and it's sort of what you would expect, because when computers have to simulate water in order to predict how the water would interact, they break it down into particles like this. And although it's not a perfect one-to-one match for a bunch of actual physical BBs, they are governed by many of the same forces, so they end up looking very similar. Now back to Anna for her final attempt. And now that we'd all survived number 8,
I'm dead.
coming in at number 7 were these chairs. But what makes them really cool is they're made from one single sheet of continuous plywood. So you start with the sheet of plywood like this, then you give it a paint job, then you place it on a CNC router machine, and you have it cut into this very specific pattern. And after that, you just take out the middle part and then fold it into an actual functional chair. Now, it's weird to think of wood as foldable and bendy, but this is another example of a compliant mechanism, which, as you recall from my world's smallest Nerf gun video, is when you can take advantage of the fact that even solid materials can flex and bend if you give them the right shape. And just like with the world's smallest Nerf gun, this chair was designed in the BYU compliant mechanism. Shape. And just like with the world's smallest Nerf gun, this chair was
Chat. Y'all buying this? How foldable is it? Because I was thinking maybe it'd be cool if you're like going somewhere. Right? Like if it's like really foldable and you can like fit it in a backpack. But it's really big. So it's like, it's almost like, well, why not just like get an actual chair? Because then it would actually look good too. Maybe you could just get one at Walmart.
was designed in the BYU Compliant Mechanisms Lab, and there's a 3D printable file in the video description if you want to assemble your own mini single part foldable.
Oh, that's cute. That's cute. That's cute. There's a I have a 3D printer. It's like the worst thing ever. Dude, I'm not even joking. A 3D printer to make this tiny little chair, it would probably take like 5 hours. It's so bad. It's so slow. It's crazy. It may take longer than that, honestly. Like it's ridiculous, bro.
Now, number 6 is your key to being the coolest person at your end of summer block party. Because right here, you've got a vinyl tube that's ready to spit out water, and it's connected to a subwoofer speaker. So now if you turn on the subwoofer at 30 hertz, which means it's vibrating up and down.
Have you printed anything? I tried to. I got my 3D printer a couple years ago. I want to say 3 or so years ago. And I tried to print something, but it took like 13 hours. And it just had like a tiny foot. I forget what I was printing. It was just some cute toy or something. Because I wanted to test it out. It took like 13 hours. And I was like, okay, I'm not doing this. And I turned it off and I've never used it since.
Per second, it wiggles the tube up and down at 30 times per second. But then if you set your phone camera to record at 30 frames per second, it makes
it's just a waste of electricity.
So when you squirt some water through the tube and start the speaker, your camera's only taking pictures when the wave is at this exact position, every 1/30th of a second. So when you play it back, it looks like a frozen wave
that is
of
cool.
water. Now what's really cool is if you change the subwoofer frequency, say to 31 hertz or 31 times per second, now every 30th of a second, the picture of the water wave is just a little further forward. So it makes it look like the wave of water is slowly traveling forward. And of course, reducing
that
the
is
frequency
awesome. I
has
actually
the
think that's
opposite
really
effect.
cool.
And if you're smart about it, this can make you look like an absolute wizard. But if you can use one speaker to make the wave go up and down, theoretically, if you added a second speaker and you made the wave go side to side, the combination should give you a spiral. And sure enough, it actually does. Now all that's left is to play a sick beat to celebrate the W.
Damn. Damn. Okay, okay. Holy. Oh my god, he's dancing. Woo! Mark Rober.
Now this is sort of an extensive setup, but what's really cool is you can make a very simple version of this yourself, and all you need is a hose, some tape, a cordless drill, and a bit. Start by folding the tape into a flag to provide an offset weight. Then secure the hose to the bottom of the cordless drill, and when you turn them both on, you'll find the natural vibrations of the spinning drill cause the hose tip to rotate in a circle near the magical 30 times per second rate. And then changing the speed of the drill slightly with the trigger will cause the wave to change directions. Honestly, how cool is that?
Anybody could do that.
That's
an easy one.
With a really cool phenomenon called laminar flow.
Like everybody has a drill.
Because this is laminar flow. It's when the layers of a fluid interact by sliding over one another in a predictable pattern instead of going turbulent and unpredictable. The big difference is what you see with the speaker is only impressive through the camera feed because the frame rate matches the wiggle rate. With laminar flow, it looks cool even real time with your own eyes. And once again, the good news is you can make a simple version of this yourself too if you just get a balloon like this, fill it with water, tape a tic-tac-toe square like this, and then give it a good cut right in the middle. And as you can see here, even with these really simple materials, it looks like total magic. The next two inventions are pretty quick.
Wait, Chad, I could try that.
A tic-tac-toe square like this.
Fill it up with water, tic-tac-toe square.
And then give it a good...
And then poke it. Try it? Well, I don't have a balloon. But I'm just saying, like, anybody could try this. This is really easy.
Cut.
Like, this is so easy.
Right in the middle.
Even if I had a balloon, I wouldn't do that because then I'd get water all over my floor.
And as you can see here, even with these really simple materials, it looks like total magic.
I could try this though. Ooh, I could do this for like a video. Holy.
The next two inventions are pretty quick and simple before we make it to our final three absolute bangers. Starting first at number 5 with this heavily modified Roomba, because every single month we place a platinum ticket inside one Crunch Labs build box. And if you're
okay, chat, this ad number 2.
has it,
I got it!
you're coming out here to Crunch Labs in person. And while you're here, it's very likely we'll have a very fun epic Nerf gun battle. What's not so fun, however, is the epic cleanup required afterwards. But why clean up a mess when you could just invent a robot to do it for you. So by taking the front of one of these acorn picker-uppers and 3D printing an attachment to secure it to a Roomba, things get much, much easier. So with only the occasional empty of the chamber, I can spend my time working on coming up with other ideas. Ideas like number 4, because over the years, myself and Crunch Labs have received a few awards, and it feels too weird to put them on display in the front lobby in a trophy case, but it also seems disrespectful just to leave them in a dusty bin. So the middle ground is if you stand right here
like a
and
third
pull
one.
this unmarked handle, it uses a 6
What is Crunch Labs?
pulley system to rotate this mere 45 degrees into place, and now if you just so happen to look up, standing only in this exact spot, you can admire the hardware. And that brings us to the final 3, starting with Simon, one of the most beloved games of my childhood. Basically, it lights up one of these pads, and then you just have to repeat it back by pressing the same pad. And that's easy enough, but each time it adds another pad to the pattern, which is not so bad at first, but then it starts to add more and more and get faster and faster. Just as frustrating as I remember. I think the farthest I ever made as a kid was like level 13, but lucky for me, I'm now an engineer, which means I have a very particular set of skills.
Skills I have acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for games like these.
So if we place Simon right here and then take some
Neeson.
inspiration from this incredible cockroach trap, we can add 4 posts around the perimeter, each with their own drumstick, rubber hand, and high torque.
That was a
servo
banger
motor.
movie,
So
by the way,
these can be
Taken.
our pad smashers, but now they need to know which pads to smash. For that, we've just got a simple webcam here that runs a Python script from a Raspberry Pi, and it ignores everything in the camera field of view except for these 4 small rectangular portions where the bulbs are. And so when the color suddenly intensifies in any one of those rectangles, you know that's the pad that needs to be hit. So once you store those pad hits in memory to be played back, the game becomes really easy. Like, violently easy. Here we go. So now all we had to do, was get through all 32 levels of Simon. Level 3 for your A game. And while 32 seems like a random number of levels, there's actually a reason for it. Turns out in 1978, when this game was made, bits were expensive. And the number 32 is the exact highest number you could count to in binary if you only have 5 bits to spare. After 5 minutes,
Makes sense,
halfway
makes
there.
sense.
So while my pad smashing robot avenges all my childhood losses, I just want to point out, just like all the things you've seen in this video so far, my favorite thing about thinking like an engineer is you can basically make whatever you can dream up.
Whoa, this guy's crazy with the ads, isn't he?
And if you want to start developing this skill yourself, Crunch Labs has you covered. Because for kids, we've got BuildBox, and then for teens and adults, we've got HackPack. In both cases, they get delivered right to your door where we build them together and learn all the really cool physics that make them work, plus all the fundamental tools you need in your toolkit to start creating your own projects and inventions. So this holiday season, making stuff Final level, let's go! Feels like a moment.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
So after 10 minutes with a bit of a robotic assist,
2024
I'm happy to say,
YouTube.
I finally beat this dumb game. We did it! Give me some. Blue, red, green, yellow. On to number 2. And that's this little guy. His name is Rocky, and he's a robot who's really, really good at only one thing. Dang it.
That's
Before I
bullshit.
show you just
That's bullshit. How does it know exactly what you're gonna do?
how good. If you don't happen to have a rock, paper, scissors robot yourself, you should know there's a trick you can use playing against other humans to win 75% of the time, because a few years back, researchers studied 54,000 games of rock, paper, scissors and discovered a pattern. If your opponent wins, they're slightly more likely to stay with their previous choice, and if they lose, they're
Okay.
slightly more likely to shift their choice to the next in line of rock, paper, and scissors. So here's all you need to remember. If you win, go to the next one in line in order of rock, paper, scissors. So if you beat them with rock, play paper next. If you beat them with paper, play scissors next. And then if you lose, go backwards in the line of rock, paper, scissors. So if you lose with scissors, play paper. And if you lose with paper, play rock. So just remember, move forward if you win, move backwards if you lose. Now, of course, that
Oh. Okay.
doesn't mean you'll win every game, but it does increase your odds by 10% for any given game. So if you just play best of 20, those odds add up, and you'll win the series 75% of the time. And as a man of science, I actually tested this myself, and it totally worked. Again, I didn't win every game, but it just gave me a slight edge, which is all it took. Now, as for beating Rocky, sadly, regardless of your strategy, your chances are much, much lower. Rocky! As in 0%. And that's because Rocky not only tracks the position of my hands, so he matches my movements up and down, but he checks the position of my fingers 100 times per second using an IR hand motion detector and a mini computer to determine what I'm throwing. And
that's cheating!
It tells the correct servo motors in Rocky's 3D printed hand.
That's cheating!
Now, as you can see, whether I go slow or I go fast, he somehow always wins. The first person to beat him fair and square gets the $10,000 cash briefcase, but honestly, I think your chances are still better at just hitting the bullseye with the American Gladiators tennis ball cannon.
Wow.
And finally, we made it to the #1 coolest thing we built at Crunch Labs over the past year, the infinite slinky staircase. Like most good inventions, the slinky was invented by accident in 1943 by a naval engineer who inadvertently knocked a stabilizing spring off the shelf and noticed how it walked down instead of falling straight off. So he and his wife decided to make a toy out of it, call it a slinky, and now 80 years later, over 300 million have been sold.
That's
and as
crazy.
a kid, I loved slinkies, especially trying to see how many stairs in a row I could get it to
I've
climb
never
down,
done
with
this.
my record sadly being only 7 or 8.
I should try
naturally,
this
now that I'm
too.
an engineer,
I have
it was
2
time to
slinkies in my
avenge this
car.
childhood frustration. The first thought I had was using a treadmill tilted at just the right angle. The problem with that was there was very little repeatability because the landing surface was inclined like a ramp, unlike actual stairs. So to solve that issue, we tried an actual escalator. And that worked a little better, but the distance between the steps wasn't ideal and the speed was a little too slow. And that's when we just decided to make our own prototype of an escalator I could turn with a hand crank. Fun fact, this is how escalators actually work. You don't normally think about it, but these stairs are making a round trip, so they're coming up below you like this upside down as you make your way down. And that prototype worked well because we got the stair spacing dialed in, but we were having issues
everyone
keeping
knows
the
that.
slinky aligned, which is where these 3D printed self-centering cones came in handy. Because if we put one on each stair step, the slinky would self-align and then be in the perfect position to fall to the next step. Finally, we got rid of the hand crank by adding a motor with the speed controllers that varies the voltage so we could get the timing dialed in just right. And that was almost perfect, but it turns out the speed of the slinky sort of varies slightly over time. So now that the dutiful prototype had served its purpose, we made a final version that looked beautiful and had a time of flight proximity sensor on the front, so we would run a closed feedback loop to change the speed of the motor to ensure the slinky was always right in the middle of the staircase. And when you do all that, you get this. But before the official demonstration, you should know what I think is the coolest thing about a slinky. Because if you let one hang down like this and then let it go, the bottom stays perfectly still in one spot because it's balanced between gravity and the tension force pulling it up. And that tension force pulling up stays unchanged until the wave finally propagates down, at which point it's like, oh, I guess I'm supposed to fall now. And so without further ado, here it is. What's really cool is once it's running, you can push either of these 2 buttons to temporarily slow down or speed up the staircase, after which the sensor takes back over to adjust itself back to the middle. Now, given that my childhood record was 8 steps, I'm just gonna leave this running to see how much I can beat that by.
Holy shit. Forever. Infinite slinky stair action.
This has now been running just over 48 hours, which means that slinky has traveled just over 208,000 stairs, which is just over
W house decoration.
times more stairs than I ever got as a kid, so I'm calling that a W. In my ongoing quest to be the favorite uncle, I've tried quite a few things over the years. Who's your favorite uncle? Say my name! But now I finally discovered a much easier way so you too can
Oh my god, it's another ad!
Or even parent by simply gifting a young person in your life a Crunch Labs Build Box subscription for the holidays. And then we build a really fun toy together. It's a bowl that will be resilient childhood frustrations. Not only that, but each month your box has a chance to contain the platinum ticket. And if you get it,
the platinum ticket, oh my god!
Well, then you're coming out to Crunch Labs to build with me and my team. The Crunch Labs Special.
Holy shit. Chad, I think that was like legitimately 7 ads in that video. Holy hell. I mean, they're all for the same thing, but that's crazy. Wow. Okay.